When you see a truck full of wood scraps, you probably think, well, that's just garbage. But what if it's actually a key ingredient for our green economy? The problem is, it costs a fortune to move. Today, we're going to dig into the surprisingly simple reason why, and how one big, clever fix is changing the whole game. So let's start with the big question. It seems backwards, right? We've got this valuable green resource that people want, but getting it from point A to point B is a massive headache. The problem isn't the wood itself. It's all about the physics of moving it. Okay, so every truck has two limits: how much stuff you can physically cram into it, that's volume, and how much it can legally weigh. Now, if you're hauling something super heavy, like gravel, you'll hit that weight limit fast, with tons of empty space left. That's weighing out. But with wood waste, it's the total opposite. The trailer gets completely full, packed to the brim, but it's so light you're not even close to the weight limit. That's called cubing out, and it is just incredibly wasteful.
And here's the number that tells the whole story: 174 kilograms per cubic meter. That is seriously low density. I mean, think about filling a truck with popcorn. It looks completely full, but it's mostly just air, right? You're paying for all the fuel, the driver's time, the wear and tear on the truck, but you're only moving a tiny fraction of the weight you're actually allowed to. That's the core of the whole economic problem.
And that inefficiency, well, it adds up. Big time. For wood fiber, transportation can eat up a staggering 40% of its total cost. Just think about that. That one line item can make the difference between a viable green fuel source and something that's cheaper to just dump in a landfill. So if you want to unlock the value of wood waste, you have to solve the transportation problem first. So if the problem is that you run out of space, the solution has to be, well, a bigger box. But this isn't just any old big box. This thing is a total game changer. Yeah, forget your standard construction bin. We're talking about a 144 cubic yard monster of a trailer. It's custom built specifically to just swallow enormous amounts of light, bulky stuff like wood waste. To put that into metric terms, that's over 108 cubic meters of space inside. See, by making the cube that much bigger, you can finally get the weight of the payload up to a level that actually makes financial sense for each trip. And all that extra room translates directly into this: 18.8 metric tons of wood waste in a single go. Now you're talking. You're finally moving a serious amount of material, and suddenly the economics look a whole lot better. So this is about way more than just a bigger trailer. This is about fundamentally changing the entire cost equation for moving biomass. Okay, this right here, this is the aha moment. Just look at this breakdown. A standard 40-yard bin, which is pretty big itself, holds about 5.2 tons of wood. This 144-yard trailer holds 18.8. But the number that really matters is right at the bottom. For every one trip this giant trailer makes, a standard truck would have to make almost 4 trips. That's 4 times the fuel, 4 times the labor, 4 times the emissions. The savings are just massive. And that's exactly why they built it. Imagine a huge demolition project right in the middle of a city. You've got literal mountains of wood to clear, and you have to do it fast. This is the kind of tool that makes those large-scale operations possible. But, maximizing the volume is only half the battle. A giant trailer creates a new problem. How in the world do you get all that stuff out efficiently? And that's where another brilliant innovation comes into play. We've all seen a dump truck, right? It needs a ton of overhead space to tilt its bed way up in the air. That works fine out in an open field, but what if your destination is inside a building with a low ceiling? You're stuck. A walking floor trailer, on the other hand, doesn't tip at all. It pushes the load out horizontally. So how does that even work? It's genius, really. The floor of the trailer is made of these long hydraulic slats. They move back and forth in this coordinated sequence, kind of like a little dance, that gently walks the entire load right out the back. It's such a simple and elegant solution to what could be a really tricky problem. And for the bioeconomy, this is a really big deal. See, a lot of biomass needs to stay dry to keep its energy content high. If it gets wet, it loses value. Being able to unload right inside a processing facility or a storage building protects the material from rain and snow, which means the quality stays high and you don't lose money. All right, let's zoom out for a minute. This trailer isn't just a bigger truck. It's a piece of technology that actually enables a more efficient supply chain, connecting the people who create wood waste directly to the facilities that can turn it into something valuable.
A key idea you'll hear about is the biohub. Just think of it as a central collection point where all the biomass from a region can be brought together, sorted, and processed. But for a biohub to work, you need a really cheap and efficient way to get huge volumes of material there in the first place. And that's exactly where a logistical tool like this becomes absolutely essential. So let's put all the pieces together. These giant trailers let companies skip the slow, inefficient transfer stations and go directly from, say, a city demolition site straight to the processor. They can handle the massive volumes needed by big players in the field. And by doing all that, they bring down the transportation cost for every single ton, making the entire bioeconomy stronger and more sustainable. It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? I mean, this whole story is about wood, but the principle behind it could apply to so many things. By finding and fixing one key logistical problem, we can turn something we think of as waste into a valuable resource. It just leaves you wondering, what other bulky, worthless materials out there are just one smart idea away from becoming the fuel for tomorrow's industries?